I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
I'm Nicolas Cage. Let's get fucked.
Ever heard of a line?
Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you pissed blood?
Kind of fun, huh? Now you know how it feels. You won't be scared when some junky asshole pulls a Glock.
I'm putting in a chase sequence. So the killer flees on horseback with the girl, the cops after them on a motorcycle. And it's like a battle between motors and horses, like technology versus horse.
No idea what you said.
It means if there's something wrong, those who have the ability to take action have the responsibility to take action. I'm gonna steal it.
What?
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Ben?
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to probably the most special episode we've ever had. My name is Flo.
And I'm Gabe. How are you?
I'm okay, man. I mean, theoretically, last week was our first year anniversary, right? Because we missed that one show.
Technically, I guess, yeah.
Right. But now it's officially episode 52, which marks exactly 1 year since we started doing this, which is crazy. What a great year it's been. What a wonderful year it was. But yeah, I mean, we decided to celebrate the occasion with one of the greatest actors alive. Talking about one of the greatest actors alive. And yeah, I know you feel the same way.
Of course, I do now.
Yeah, do you?
I've won some appreciation for that person. Well, we don't have to beat around the bush, I guess.
No.
You already know it's Nicolas fucking Cage.
That is his middle
swearing.
Name. Yeah. Are you being serious? You genuinely feel like a bit more appreciation for him now?
I do. I've seen some movies now that I've been meaning to watch for I don't know how long. I couldn't see everything that I wanted to, especially 3 movies that might make an appearance on your list.
Yeah.
But I've seen a whole lot, way more than I did before, and I think I've now seen some of his best movies, which I haven't seen before. I was more familiar with his more wacky, over-the-top, batshit crazy roles. I mean, there are some of those roles still on my list, don't worry about that, but I don't know, like Gone in 60 Seconds, which I don't think is going to be on your list, maybe. I'm going to spoil it right away. It's not going to be on my list because that's the kind of movies that I was used to from Nicolas Cage, and I just could not identify with those kinds of films. But
sure,
there are some gems out there, I guess, which I've now finally seen. And while I'm not a huge fan of him still, at least not as big as you are, I want some appreciation for him. So I think it's still going to be more your list that I'm going to be interested in, to be honest.
Well, I was not worried, but I don't see how this episode is going to pan out because I feel like it's going to be more than ever me saying, me listing something and you're going to be like, I watched this for the show and I hated it. I feel like that's going to happen about 6 out of 7 times today.
Good,
which is fair. But I mean,
I'm not going to shit on him too much. Don't worry about that.
No, but dude, you're always honest. Keep it that way. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least, I think.
I try to watch a lot and I watch like 14 movies of his, most of them things that I haven't seen before. Well, a couple of them yesterday, yes. Most of which I haven't seen before because there was a finite number of days before we record this, and that man has got such a huge filmography. If you go on IMDb, I think he's got over 100 entries. And there are a lot of shit things on there, in my opinion. But so many things, I'm so sorry, so many things that I now watched, which don't have the best ratings and didn't seem too great, that I ended up liking. So I don't know, there's just so much out there. And maybe if I've watched even more, there would have been, my list might have been completely different. It's just such a huge filmography. I tried my best to watch the big ones, I guess, but there's still a couple that I missed, sadly.
Yeah, I haven't seen everything. not even close either. I got some omissions too.
He's a tough actor to get a hold of his whole filmography.
Yes. Well, I think it's interesting with Nicolas Cage. I think a lot of people sort of don't like him, without having seen many of his movies, and they've seen a couple and they decided I'm not gonna watch any more of him. And some people really like the cinephiles. I love that word, but they know of his best work, right? And there's certain movies from the 80s that are certainly revered from Nick Cage, and also for example, Mandy was one of the more recent successes. But I am personally one of those, and we're going to completely disagree here. My favorite Nick Cage is sort of early 90s to like late 2000s, which is the period where most people hate him. Those are the movies that are genuinely not, like, they're not terrible or great. They're sort of the mediocre movies, like according to the audience score or whatever. And I love those movies.
At that time, some of his most revered movies also came out, didn't they?
That's true. Well,
in like
some of them.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, no. Early mid 90s.
And also the 90s. Yeah, right.
Well, there's always a couple of exceptions, of course. We're going to get to them. But I'm more like Nick Cage. I like his quote unquote mediocre movies. I really do. Because he's the sort of extreme in his early movies. He's got this, and you mentioned his sort of over the top thing, which he carries through the 90s and through the 2000s, of course. But I like him when he's being serious, like when he's just a stand-up, straight Hollywood A-lister actor, male guy. You know, when he's not like doing the over the top thing. I like him in that in those movies. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I can't deal with. I think I've talked about this in the episode where I talked about The Color from Outer Space. Where
The Color Outer Space. Yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't deal with his over the topness. It just threw me completely out of the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some great movies which don't do that. And in my head, Nick Cage is just that guy, you know, from the memes and whatever.
Sure.
And it's nice to see a different side of his.
Yeah. I mean, my list is completely, it's a mixture of both. I tried to do a mixture of both. There's going to be some over the top things on there for sure. Looking at my list now. But I think our lists are going to be completely different.
I think so as well.
I feel like I know your top three. I don't know what you watch now, but I feel like you're going to be the guy who we'll get to when we get to it.
Well, I know there's going to be two things on my list which are going to throw you off completely. I know that already.
Okay. Interesting. Well, we got to say this as well. We're doing this obviously to celebrate our 1 year anniversary. But one of our most loyal listeners, Fiona, she requested a Nick Cage special months and months ago. And we said we're always going to do it, but we always said we're going to do it, by the way. Sorry. But yeah, now's the time. And yeah, we hope you enjoy it as much as we will.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe in 1 year's time, we're going to make a Nick Cage list 2.0 when we've seen everything.
Sure. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Let's do it. It's going to be interesting. Who starts this week?
That's a good fucking question.
I think it's me.
I think you, yeah.
Because the last special was the 2020 special, and you had the... Is that right?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe we should have checked this before, but...
We never do. It's part of the charm.
Yeah.
Well, it's...
Exactly.
We had... I remember my number one thing, and then we had your number one after that, right? So that means that I started it.
Did we have your number one thing first? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm pretty certain.
Let me look this up. We're being professional. Oh, ho, ho.
I'm pretty certain.
Ho. Let me look at my
list. It's right.
You're right? Oh, okay.
So I was the one who started it, so you're going to start this one. But please tell everyone how the show works, and then let's get into the cagiest of all shows.
Alrighty, so if you're here for this is your first special, welcome.
Well, you're
in
the
for a
best
treat,
one.
I think so. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we're going to talk about the best thing that we've seen from Nicolas Cage's career. Anything from a movie, TV show, maybe a YouTube video, but I think in Nicolas Cage's case, it's going to be mainly movies. I'm not aware of any shows, to be honest, any big shows that he's been part of. And yeah, we're going to do this in form of a top 10 list. So I'm going to start us off. And if I have something higher, for example, or lower than Flo, we might either postpone the discussion for later, or we're going to do it right then and there if the picks are on similar positions. And as always, we don't know what each other's lists are going to be. They're going to be very different, probably, like we already mentioned. And
do you think you know my top, whatever, 1, 2, 3?
I think so.
I must have mentioned it, right? Yeah.
I think you've told me some time ago that this movie is one of your favorite movies in general, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm going to expect it to be very high on your list.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
All right. Let's do it.
My number 10
Let's get fucked.
My number 10 is 8mm.
Okay, that's higher for me. That is higher for me. Yeah, I know it's on Netflix, and I thought you'd hate it. Well, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, go on.
No, it was on Netflix some time ago, and then they took it off, and I was like, shit, I really want to watch this for the special. And I think like a couple of days ago now, like at the beginning of February, they put it back on. I was so fucking happy.
All right. My 10 is never making your list, and it's sort of one of those things. I struggled with my 10 spot, and I struggled in general to, as I said before, not to put too much trash on there. Trash that I love, by the way. So my 10 is Knowing.
Did not see that one.
I
went through the whole list of Nick Cage things, and there were so many on it. Knowing did not interest me at all.
I think, I'm struggling more and more to sort of get a sense of your taste. I think this could have been interesting. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
I think.
Do you know what it's about?
Not really, to be honest. I think even if I kind of liked it, I don't think it would have cracked my top 10. But who knows?
Was it easy for you to make a top 10? Or did you struggle to put 10 together?
I didn't. I had like 14 things and I had to choose from that, so...
Okay, that's not bad.
Wasn't that hard, yeah. But please, tell me about Knowing.
Well, I saw Knowing in theaters in 2009, and it completely fucked me up. I was struggling with... It's sort of, but not really a horror film. And I remember it distinctly. I saw this with my best friend at the time. And, he was not affected by this at all. He's a much cooler guy than I am. And I was just scared out of my mind at certain scenes. Because it's Nick Cage. He plays like a professor. And he stumbles upon a list in a time capsule, where the dates are written. There's like a whole lot of numbers that don't really make any sense, but he manages to decipher the list and figures out that every number or certain numbers are dates of horrific events in the world. And some of them are in the future, right?
Interesting, yeah.
So, see, it's a great movie. I mean, what a premise. And you got Rose Byrne plays, I don't remember now I don't think they're together, but sort of the love interest. And Rose Byrne has a child, and Nick Cage has a son, and both of them play a huge part in the movie. But the girl who writes the list, or who wrote the list in the past to put it in the time capsule, she's the one that freaked me out, because she's straight out of a horror movie, right? So she's like possessed and has to write down these numbers. And there's one scene where a teacher finds her, she's like in a cupboard or whatever, and she doesn't have a pen anymore, so she just uses her nails to fucking do them and write them down on the wall, all up bleeding and stuff.
Jesus, okay.
And this movie it talks about like the catastrophes that happen in real life. Like I think 9/11, I think happened. Like it's been a while since I've seen this too, but
have you seen it since you?
Yes.
Since you saw it in a theater?
Yeah, I would not have been able to even rate it if I hadn't seen it since then. I watched it like a year ago. And yeah, I really liked it a lot. I mean, I think it takes turns towards the end that are sort of, that have a certain sci-fi element to it. It is a sci-fi thriller. But yeah, I like this movie. I really do.
Okay.
It's a weird one, and this is one where Nick Cage, he's not really over that over the top. He's very subdued in that movie, if I remember correctly. I have a feeling
that like towards the end, shit gets even crazier. He just starts losing his mind.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
That seems very classic.
I mean, he figures more and more things out, right? Okay. And there's some presences that haunt him or his son. Yeah. I mean, Jim, and then Jim. Then Nick tries to prevent the ultimate sort of catastrophe at the end or whatever. But
Interesting.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, you've piqued my interest for that one. I think this list is also interesting because you are a Cage veteran.
Yes, that's what I call myself. Yes.
Yeah, it's the official title.
Uh-huh. I've been in the war, man. I've seen it all.
You should write that in your Tinder profile.
I was just gonna make that joke, but I thought I did it before.
But me as a Cage newbie, or I think that's a good word for it. Dude, that piques my interest, to be honest. Yeah. Now that I've seen more of his,
it's good. What's your 9?
My 9 is maybe something that you haven't even watched, but then again, it's Nicolas Cage. You've probably seen it twice.
Thank you.
It's The Trust.
I have seen this, yes. Okay. It's not making my list now.
All right. Well, this took me completely by surprise, and I had a difficult time putting this either at number 10 or number 9.
Well, you love Elijah Wood, don't you?
I do, and this movie has some pretty terrible ratings, but
it does.
A lot of Cage movies do.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I was so surprised, and like you just said, it's got Elijah Wood in it, and I've never thought that I wanted to see that collaboration, but I enjoyed it so much. Nick Cage and Elijah Wood, they fit together perfectly for this film. And if you don't know what The Trust is, you can watch it on Amazon Prime right now for free. And it's about 2 cops in Las Vegas, I think, who are in the forensics team. And then Nicolas Cage kind of gets a hint about something going down and then starts following some guys who are probably involved in some drug trade, and then finds out that they're hiding a whole lot of shit somewhere in a bank vault that they've hidden in an old building. And so he kind of plans a heist together with Elijah Wood's character.
Right.
To rob that vault. And Nick Cage's character is such a weird dude. Kind of a nice guy. We're going to say
that quite a few times.
Yeah, definitely. But it's just so nice and wacky and weird, like with his mustache, like the weird, lovely kind of uncle. And then he becomes an absolute monster out of nowhere at times. In some ways, it kind of reminded me of Walter White in Breaking Bad.
Sure.
Of him being this so unsuspecting guy and then just ruthlessly murdering people.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed very much, to be honest. And Elijah Wood being this kind of stoned guy, which he plays quite often, to be honest. But yeah, the chemistry between the two of them is just amazing. And I just especially enjoy the scene when they're trying to break into the vault, which is like half the movie.
Yeah, that is a great scene.
And they just sit together and at one point just eat a sandwich. I love that scene. It's so simple, and then just talking, and Nicolas Cage just looking at him. I think they changed the sandwich recipe. But they have my approval and just keeps eating.
I love
Elijah Wood just looks
I love your impression there at the beginning. I thought you were going to go do a Cage impression where you went like, huh. And then you decided not to go down.
No. I can't do that justice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I've seen before. I mean, just the poster somewhere because I thought, like Elijah Wood, I'm a huge fan of his. But
well, it's one of the more recent movies.
Yeah, I think 2016.
Yeah,
and it took me by surprise, and I think it's really worth checking out. And I think it's got a good ending. I don't understand why the ratings are that low. I think it's worth checking out.
It's Nick Cage.
Well,
no, I'm saying a lot of people just don't get it.
maybe, but it's not classical Nick Cage.
Well, what is though? What is?
Fair enough. He's very unpredictable.
I'll tell you what is. Ready for my number 8? Never making your list. Face Off. The cagiest of all Cage movies.
It really is. Really is. Yeah, it's not going to be anywhere near my list.
I mean, this is literally like the craziest Cage movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even though that's a statement that might be, you could argue for other movies, I guess. But, I mean, I think it's a classic Face Off. I mean, Cage and Travolta sort of switching roles.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only like, because Nick Cage plays the bad guy and he only gets to play the bad guy for like the first 20 or 30 minutes. Because then obviously Travolta gets to do him. And I'm sure you saw the interview too, where Cage sort of went through his career, and he talked about that he would love to do a movie where he could be that guy the whole movie, and not just for the 20 minutes, because it's those 20 minutes are just the craziest 20 minutes. He's like this super villain, and also dressed as a priest, and then fondling some choir girl and sort of having ecstasy. Like, it's just it's so over the top. And he talked about his influence of like German movies back in the day, the sort of over the top acting that he sort of channeled in that movie. And whatever floats your boat, Nick. I don't know what you did. I thought it was tremendously enjoyable. And it's just the premise is just great, and directed by John Woo, who's it's just the whole movie is over the top. It really is, in terms of action, in terms of performances, and I think I think it's an iconic duo, that Travolta and Cage. That's got to be one of the movies that most people think of when they think of Cage, right? I would think so, as Castor Troy.
I think that is the most iconic Cage performance, you're right, in a way, just him being that fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And it is kind of funny just for that, but I just couldn't get behind it. I think it's also just, I'm not a fan of John Woo and his style of action. That's the kind of action that I just can't deal with. I just can't take it serious. And
well, you're not supposed to.
I know, but in a movie, I like the suspension of disbelief, I kind of buy what's going on. It makes sense in the universe where it's taking place, right? But in this film, I was just thinking to myself, Jesus fucking Christ. It's just, I can just see how somebody came up with that scene. Oh my God, it's going to be so cool. Let's film this, and taking it way too serious in a way. And maybe it's supposed to be watched with more of an open mind than I had, but I just couldn't get behind it.
I wouldn't say open mind. I would just say like, you know what you're going to, if you must know what you're watching, you must know what you're getting yourself into. But, there's so many quotable lines in that movie and especially in the first 20 minutes when Cage is Castor Troy. It's just tremendous. I'm going to take the face off. I can't do his impression either, but I'm not, I'll try. And this movie stars as his brother, the guy we talked about on Art of Self-Defense, Alessandro Nivola. I remember that we discussed Face Off during that episode, or whenever we talked, because he was in something else recently too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
We talked about him recently. What was it? God damn. Disobedience. He plays Rachel McAdams' husband.
Right.
And he's the brother of Nick Cage in Face Off, and I think he's called like Pollux Troy. I mean, just the Castor Troy, Pollux Troy, and Travolta, Sean Archer. I mean, it's just it's great. I think of this as the cagiest of all movies.
That movie is just dripping testosterone.
Sure.
And yeah, I knew this was going to be on your list.
I'm swimming in it.
Enjoy. But I knew this was going to be on your list, but I didn't think it would be that low, to be honest. I thought it would be even higher. But
no, I had to restrain myself,
All right.
Yeah. What's your 8?
My number 8 is Kick-Ass.
Yeah, that's but I like that movie.
Yeah?
Just didn't make my list.
I think this is one of the first roles that I liked. Nicolas Cage, to be honest.
What was sort of what were your first impressions of him? Like, when did you first see him?
I think, like, back in the day when I watched a lot of TV as a kid, a couple of movies would just keep coming up on TV, like Gone in 60 Seconds and The Rock. I think The Rock was one of the first movies that I remember seeing of his.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of fun, I guess, back in the day. I didn't think about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And back then I kind of enjoyed those action films a bit more, but as I got older, I kind of lost interest. And then I saw him in Kick-Ass, and I was just so surprised because his role in that is also so freaking wacky, and also a bit like in The Trust, where he seems like a nice guy, but he's just a fucking psychopath.
He really is. Yeah. Shooting his children. His child, yeah.
And just his name in that film as Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Who just dresses up like Batman pretty much, but goes around shooting everybody with his kid who he trains, and shoots her to kind of get her used to being shot and stuff like that. I mean, in a bulletproof vest, but
sure.
still. He's not gonna win any Father of the Year awards.
Well, she loves him, you know.
Yeah, she does. She really does. And yeah, Kick-Ass, I think it's just a fun superhero kind of film. And I think a big part of why I enjoy that film is just also the wackiness of all of it. And I think Nick Cage just fit that role perfectly.
Well, yes, I like the casting of him in that role. I mean, it's not the main role in that movie, obviously.
No.
That's Kick-Ass, Aaron Taylor Johnson. And also, this movie also stars Evan Peters. So you got two guys who portrayed what was how am I blanking on this now? Quicksilver, yes, that's the name, right?
I haven't seen the old Fantastic Four movies in a long
time. No, then it's not Quicksilver. Isn't it Quicksilver, the guy from the Marvel MCU? And,
I confused him with the Silver Surfer.
Right, I think Quicksilver. Right?
Yeah,
because Aaron Taylor Johnson played him in Ultron. Yeah, and Peters in X-Men.
Right. Dude.
But have you seen the second one?
I have, and I enjoyed it as well.
That's
but I
prefer
Cage,
the
first one. I think so.
I haven't seen the second one. I know that's with Carrie.
I think he also makes maybe a little appearance in the second one.
Does he?
I'm not completely sure.
Yeah. I remember watching the first one, and it didn't quite live up to my expectations because I did see it late, like a couple of years after it was released.
Yeah, same.
But I thought it was a fine movie. I think they could have made. I mean, I enjoy Matthew Vaughn's the other movies that he did more, like Kingsman or whatever. Yeah, but I just feel like they could have done more with the concept, because the concept is quite great. What if one guy would just decide to dress up and be a superhero? I mean, he would get his shit kicked, and and he does. You know, it's got good elements to it. But the whole like Mark Strong and whatever Christopher Mintz-Plasse, however you pronounce his name, those are just two worlds that don't really fit together. I mean, there's this one guy who decides to. I guess
I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, but
it feels like a bit of a mixture of, I don't know, like Scott Pilgrim versus the World and other Matthew Vaughn movies, like, I don't know, Kingsman even. Like that action combined with that silliness.
I guess, but then you got Mark Strong, who's sort of more the general villain, or the basic villain out of every movie. You know what I mean? He's not that over the top guy. I think he's his dad, right? Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Yeah. I mean, I might have to watch it again, but I remember I thought it was fine.
I mean, yeah, it's not the best movie, but I think it's just fun, and yeah, his role is just, for me, so iconic in a way.
Is it?
Yeah, kind of.
There's this great piece of music towards the end that is also used in Sunshine, I think.
No idea.
Yeah, I remember watching a clip and an interview about it, so I'm able to bring this up now. I would not have been able to otherwise. But it's that scene where Hit Girl, I think she saves Big Daddy. Isn't there like one scene where he's tied to a chair and she comes in and saves him in the dark with the night vision goggles?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, piece of music there is great.
If you say so. Yeah. I haven't seen this movie in like a year, to be honest.
I haven't seen it in so long.
But all right, so what's your number 8?
My 7.
Sorry, 7?
Oh my god, dude! I'm already all over the place. I made a mistake. I left out my 9.
Oh, okay.
I went straight to 8. Right.
So Face Off is your 8.
Face Off is my 8.
All right. So what's your number 9? I guess
my number 9 will be much higher for you, so we can postpone it anyway. My number 9 is Leaving Las Vegas.
It's higher, yeah.
Yes, perfect. So I knew that, so I didn't even mention it. So my
no harm done.
But you're 8 now, right?
That was my 8. So we talked about your 8. So it's your 7.
Did we talk about your 8?
Yeah, Kick-Ass.
Oh, you started out. I'm all over the place. I apologize. You know, it's been a year.
Sorry. So that's my 7 now.
It is your 7 now.
Alrighty.
You mentioned your 10, 9, and 8, right?
Yes.
Okay.
8mm, The Trust, Kick-Ass.
Yes, and I got Knowing, Leaving Las Vegas, and Face Off. So what's your 7?
Alrighty. My number 7 is one of the many movies that No, it's not. It's not one of the many movies that I borrowed from you.
We're very professional here.
We are so fucking professional. No, I watched this. I think this is the first Cage movie that I watched in preparation for this, like 2 weeks ago. and it's The Weatherman.
That is higher for me.
All right, I thought so.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very surprised that you saw this.
I was surprised as well to like it that much, but I remember you some time ago talking about The Weatherman.
Okay.
And how much you enjoyed it, and I remembered that, and I thought, all right, this is going to make an appearance somewhere on your list, so I better watch it.
Sweet. Let me just hold on 1 second. It appears that the browser has frozen. I hope it's still recording.
Interesting.
But I think we should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. My 7 then is no way it's making your list. And it's I think of this as the partner to Knowing. We're now in the early 2000 area of Cage movies that are generally thought to be bad, and I like them.
All right.
My number 7 is Next.
Once again, another film that I had no time to watch.
Okay. You would not like this either. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
It's just, I'm sorry, but Nick Cage plays a magician who has the power to see in the future. And he has this vision of Jessica. Yeah, I know. As Frank Cadillac. I can keep going. He has this vision of Jessica. No, I'm saying the name just makes it better. And he has this vision of Jessica Biel. And that's sort of the person that he wants to meet because he keeps seeing her. And then with that sort of, and Julianne Moore plays the cop who hunts him because they want to use him, and because there's some German terrorists, I think. And he, with his ability to see in the future, he needs to help the police. And Jessica Biel, to me, is one of the most beautiful women on earth. It's just, I know we've talked about this topic a lot, and I have a lot of favorite. I have a lot of favorite actresses. You know, I do, and
all based on attractiveness.
No. No, I'm saying I know that. I'm saying I think Jessica Biel is one of the most beautiful women on the planet. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
No? It's not derogative, is it?
No.
Just and especially in that movie. So I got a soft spot for that movie.
Talent can also be attractive.
Yes, absolutely. I also think that she's a good actress. You know, whatever. She's no Nick Cage.
Nobody is.
But it's just there's this one great scene where he finally meets Jessica Biel, and he goes through so many scenarios of how he can approach her in order for her to talk to him. So there's like so many like failed attempts where he's just getting punched in the face or whatever. I think that might actually be the one that works because there's some other guy who hassles her and he sort of steps in and defends her.
Okay.
But the movie plays with that you kind of know that it's a vision, and then you're just waiting for the moment for it to cut back. And then he sort of figures out, all right, that's the approach I'm going to take. And I like this movie a lot, man. This is one of those, like Knowing, like Next. It's one of the, I think of these movies like some of the more recent Liam Neeson action movies. Those I can just put them on and enjoy the hell out of them without them being particularly great, you know? I'm talking about the Liam Neeson ones, like the Unknown or Nonstop or whatever. These are not great movies. I think they're so fun to watch, but so Next falls in that category. I think it's just, I think it's great.
Now that you've kind of talked about the movie, it sounds more interesting than I thought it would be.
Yeah. You like Frank Cadillac?
I love him. What can I say? But I think that concept kind of sounds fun. But I saw like the screenshots on like the IMDb page, and I kind of clicked myself through most of his filmography. And when I came across Next, I wasn't very interested, but I thought you might like it. I didn't think it would necessarily make your list.
Yeah.
But I just read Magician, and for some reason I thought, like, Flo is going to like this one.
Well, I am easy to read. But I struggled with like putting, I decided to be honest. There's movies on there that I've seen of Nick Cage that are just better. But I decided to put the ones on that I just keep coming back to.
Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
Yeah. What's your 6?
All right, my 6 is not going to be on your list. I'm so sure about this.
Interesting. What could that be?
Moonstruck.
I thought you hated that movie.
I did, and then I rewatched it, and I suddenly loved it.
I've not seen this.
All right.
And I also didn't
Finally,
watch it.
I think. Sorry, this is the first time I've had something on my top 10 list that you haven't watched.
That is not true.
I think so.
No, that must have happened multiple times.
You sure?
I'm not sure. Well, no, for example, on the Christmas special, Miracle on 34th Street.
Fair enough.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Fair enough. But like from an
I
actor's...
wrote these down.
Moments of shame.
Yeah. No, dude, right? I didn't watch Moonstruck for this episode either because, first of all, I have no real interest in this movie because, first of all, this is a early 80s, right?
Late 80s. I think
80s.
1987.
Yeah, this is the era of Cage that I'm not that big a fan of. And also, I distinctly remember you watching that movie and hating it. So I was like, okay, I don't need to watch this. It's not going to be mentioned. But apparently not.
Yeah, I rewatched this. This was, I think, the second movie I watched for this special. Yeah, it's 1987. I'm so proud of myself. And yeah, it's a love story between Cher and Nicolas Cage. And there's this very iconic scene of her slapping him and saying, "Snap out of it." Great fucking scene. And I pretty much just watched that movie the first time for that scene. I was like, all right, this is such an iconic film. It's very well loved, and I thought, all right, let's check it out. And I was quite disappointed by like the humor, and I thought I just couldn't handle Nick Cage in that movie, to be honest. But this is such an over the top role of his, and I think even read somewhere that he channeled something like this and that for his role. And I was like, all right, I didn't get any of that, but sure, whatever you say. But yeah, he plays this kind of bit of a crazy guy. Cher's character decides to marry a man, and she's in like her 40s, maybe 50s even in that movie. And it's not a marriage out of love, just sort of, I don't know, he's a nice guy, I'm not getting any younger, why the fuck not, right?
Is Cher that old?
Yeah, she's quite old in that movie. She's a widow, and she's like got gray hair, and...
Okay.
I don't know if she played an older character than she actually was at that time.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then her husband or fiance flies away and tells her, please invite my brother to our wedding. He won't talk to me. There's been some bad blood between us. Let's come on, talk to him. And then she meets him, and he's this very crazy and eccentric guy, and kind of falls for him. And it's such a freaking weird movie, to be honest. Just the humor and everything. And I think she even won Best Actress for that movie, which I don't get.
Could be, yeah.
There are a couple of movies here where I see people are getting nominated, especially like the 80s and 90s, and I don't know why they're getting nominated or winning for anything. This is like not the kind of standard of acting that I'm used to, I guess.
She did win, yeah.
Type of acting. But yeah, the first time I just couldn't deal with it for some reason, but rewatching it, I rewatched it with a friend, and we had a hell of a time. I laughed so freaking much for some reason, although I already saw it. And I think just now getting a bit more used to kind of Cage's weirdness, and I know he started or talked about the special, I was like, all right, I can't overanalyze this, right? This is just cagey fucking weirdness, and I'm just gonna appreciate it for what it is, I guess. And going in that movie with that mindset, I enjoyed it way more, and it's got a great ending scene, which I'm not gonna spoil, but there's just a whole lot of humor and just so many fun little moments that I appreciated now way
like
more
a wooden
than I did.
hand, doesn't he?
He does, and he blames his brother for that. Yeah. He's just the weirdest fucking guy working at a bakery and blaming everything on his brother for the weirdest fucking reasons, and just screaming and being this real fucking prick, actually. And yeah, it's one of the weirdest roles that I've seen him in.
Yeah, but I think it's one of his most acclaimed movies. I mean, it won 3 Oscars, and it was never of interest to me.
I think it's one of his early breakout roles, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's my number 6, Moonstruck. I think it's really worth checking out, and if you go into it with an open mind, I think you're gonna enjoy it. I think you would enjoy it as well.
I don't know. I'm struggling with this 80s Cage.
Mm-hmm. Why? And what's like the difference that you feel like is an issue?
Well, I think he's just... I'm thinking of another 80s movie now that a lot of people love and I just don't like at all. And it's just this... He's got this... I don't know what it is. This innocent look about him maybe, but still like so over the top. something's missing there for me to enjoy it as much as his later work. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I actually kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
Him at that kind of stage. All right.
Well, my 6 is going to be higher for you. This might be your 1.
Ooh.
My 6 is adaptation.
It's not my. It's not my. It's on my list.
Right.
And it's kind of close, but I think we can wait for discussion.
Okay. What's your 5?
My 5 is once again, I think maybe something you haven't seen.
Okay.
And I saw this yesterday evening because I was kind of running out of films that I could watch. Because there's a limited.
You've seen already? You've seen everything?
No, there's like a limited amount of platforms where you can watch stuff. And a whole lot of things that I could only watch in German or, I don't know, weren't available or whatever. And I was late yesterday, I had this whole fucking list of films that I want to watch from Cage.
I'm so excited what this is going to be.
Could only watch parts of it. And then yesterday evening, I was kind of running out of things and I was already quite tired because I just got off from work and I'd already seen 2 other movies of his yesterday. So I thought I'd go with something light, you know? And this took me completely by surprise and I had such a fucking good time yesterday with this. I just couldn't stop smiling at times. It could happen to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you seen this?
No.
All right. Well, this is Cage also in like, it's kind of 80s Cage. I think it came out in 1994.
How is it that 80s Cage?
Just from his looks and how he kind of acts.
Right.
From what you just described as like the 80s Cage that you don't like. It kind of feels like that, to be honest. And I enjoyed it so much. He's such a sweet character in a way and something that I'm not used to from Cage. Where he doesn't have this huge fucking personality that takes up the whole room, you know?
Yeah.
And It Could Happen to You is semi-based on a true story about a cop who promised a waitress, he's like, all right, I don't have enough money for a tip. How about this? I got a lottery ticket in my wallet. The drawing is tonight. If it wins, you get half of the winnings. What ends up happening, he wins. And true to his word, he gives her the money, and then it's about him kind of getting to know that waitress, but him also being married at that time to a woman who is not very understanding of him giving away half the winnings.
Sure.
And it's a rom-com through and through. And it's got so much charm, and I'm not always a fan of these kind of movies because they're so cliche at times and just so over the top romantic, you know. It's this Hollywood romanticizing feeling, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but this worked for me so freaking much.
I've heard very good things about this. I'm not surprised that you enjoyed this. Yeah. I'm surprised you watched it, but I'm not surprised that you enjoyed it.
I was like, all right, I need something light, and this was the lightest thing of his that I could find.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a heck of a time, and I'm so glad that I watched this. And it's got also Stanley Tucci in this movie as the husband of the waitress, and he's fucking ripped in this. Jesus Christ, young Stanley Tucci was
now
hot.
I know why you enjoyed it. Yeah.
But the waitress is also played by Bridget Fonda.
Yeah.
Who I don't know really from much else, I think. Is she the daughter of Jane Fonda?
Yeah. Oh, no. She's the niece of Jane Fonda.
Yeah, the niece.
The granddaughter of Henry Fonda.
All right.
I'm looking this up. I don't have I would not know this.
In her filmography, I don't think I've recognized her from anything. But she's great in this, to be honest. I really enjoyed her, and I think she had some great chemistry with Cage in this. And they're just both so sweet characters because they both play nice people in New York, and it's kind of the whole gimmick because it plays in New York City, and they're just so charitable, and that's so weird to everybody else. And I don't know, it's just a feel-good movie through and through, and I think it's so worth checking out.
Does this have a courtroom element too?
It does, towards the end.
Yeah, it's on IMDb.
But, well, very short.
Yeah.
Kind of aspect of it. But yeah, I think...
I mean, I never think of Cage as sort of the romantic guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
So that's why that movie hasn't been on my list, really.
But I guess that's also why I kind of enjoyed it, not seeing him in another action flick is quite refreshing.
Sure.
All right, so yeah, this is my number 5. We're in the top 5 area. So what's your number 5?
Yeah, my 5 is The Weatherman.
Right, okay.
Which could be, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen I didn't manage to rewatch this.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be even higher if I do. I like this movie a lot. And I think this is also, like you said with, what was it? It Could Happen to You?
Mm-hmm.
This is a Cage that I wasn't familiar with before. This is, I think, a different role. This is the guy who, a weatherman who gets shit thrown at his face the whole time. Because, what is it? He thinks it's because people think he makes too much or whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe because his forecast isn't as accurate as they want it to be. But it's his relationship with his father, played by Michael Caine. Mm-hmm. And then also him struggling with his family. And he's got Nick Holt plays his son.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who plays the daughter, but I know that, what is the name? Hope Davis plays his wife or his ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this guy trying to figure out his life, basically, right? Because he's not really happy with his job, and his dad is sort of very demanding of him. And I like that it's sort of all he sort of finds a solution. That's not a spoiler, but he takes up arching with his daughter,
mm-hmm.
and that sort of gives him a bit of self-confidence back. And it's such a sweet and funny movie at times as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him when he's interacting with his daughter and during those arching scenes, for example. And when he throws that snowball in Hope Davis's face. I mean, it's such a, in every other movie, I wouldn't necessarily think that's hilarious, but I think they just shot that perfectly. And him sort of, apologizing for it. I think it's great.
Yeah. I think they also just got a great way how the characters, especially Nick Cage, delivers his lines in this movie. It kind of reminded me of Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yorgos Lanthimos? Yeah.
Isn't that his name?
Sure.
Is that how you pronounce his last name? I'm never sure.
It sounds about right.
The Greek director who's now very big with The Favorite and The Lobster and The Killing of a Sacred Deer. And in all of his movies, characters seem so stiff in a way, but it makes them so funny because they give this very serious and deadpan delivery of lines, which makes them even funnier. Yeah. And especially with Nick Cage in some scenes. And I think he's got this inner monologue going, right?
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned also, like why people throw shit at him and stuff like that. And I think those are some of the funniest scenes in the movie. And was quite a surprise. I didn't think this was what The Weatherman is about, to be honest.
Yeah, there's another movie called The Family Man, and I like to mix them up. That's with Don Cheadle, where he sort of has the... have you seen that?
Once again, another movie that I tried to watch, but
I thought you were about to say yes, and it's higher on my list. I would have been surprised.
No.
But he sort of gets a new shot at life or a different path, gets to see what it's like. And I always mix those up. But The Weatherman, it's directed by Gore Verbinski, who is the director of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Right.
And this is very different than the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
It is.
But I think this is, for me, the hidden gem of this list. And you don't have to be a Cage enthusiast to enjoy this movie. I think this is sort of if you show someone this movie who may be not that big a fan of Cage, I think this could maybe turn them around, because it's a subdued performance again, but it's a funny movie that is, not like other Cage movies, I think. Yeah.
And I think it's got a great element in that movie is, if you remember, when Michael Caine tells Nicolas Cage what kind of problem his daughter has. You know what I mean?
I don't remember.
No?
Tell me.
Okay. With the kids at school calling her names.
Right.
Camel toe.
Right.
And then the Cage trying to remedy that.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
Very funny.
What does he do?
Well, he kind of takes her out and tries to buy her dresses and not make her wear pants, so she...
Right.
Yeah. And she kind of asks her, do people call you names at school? So yeah. Like what? Like stupid? Yeah. Like camel toe? Yeah. Do you know why they call you that? Yeah, because camel toes are strong, right? Right. Just, I don't know, it's just a great scene in that movie. And just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you said, the interactions with him and his family are just funny as hell.
Yeah, and you feel for him.
Yeah, you really do. It's so uncomfortable at times just because he is put in such awkward positions.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
What's your 4?
Once again, I think a movie that's not going to be on your list.
Jesus, okay.
Wild at Heart.
Oh, you got to see it?
I got to see it, yeah.
No, that's not on my list. I did not like that movie.
Right. But you did see it, right?
Yes, I saw it in theaters.
All right, really? It must have been some time ago, or did you?
No, they showed it. They showed it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I just realized you must have been like between 0 and I don't know what.
When this is another 80s movies, isn't it? 80s movies, isn't
it? Maybe, or early 2000s. It's 1990. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Would have been kind of hard for you to watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wild at Heart, it's a movie by David Lynch, who is just known for being the weirdest director in Hollywood, probably.
Interesting. Okay.
Right?
Sure. I mean, I would say Yorgos Lanthimos. No.
Yeah, I guess. Also. But, I mean, David Lynch got this reputation, and he's got a huge filmography of these weird, surreal movies. And this is one of the more grounded movies, but still very weird and over the top. And it's about Nicolas Cage's character and Laura Dern, who plays his girlfriend. And it just opens with them being at a party and somebody trying to stab Nicolas Cage. So what does he do? He bashes his fucking head until the other guy dies, which lands him in prison. And when he finally comes out, his girlfriend is waiting for him, and they take off, and he kind of skips parole and them taking a road trip and trying to get to California. But Laura Dern's mom, who is played by a real-life mom, actually, who was nominated for an Oscar. And I think she might even won. And Laura Dern's mom.
Okay.
Laura Dern's mom was nominated for an Oscar for this movie. And no disrespect to her mom. But when I watched this movie, I was like, that woman, she's got the typical David Lynch style of acting. Like you see in Twin Peaks and I don't know where else. And in Mulholland Drive. This very over the top and very emotional and just batshit crazy kind of acting. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And she got that down to a T, that kind of acting in that movie. And I thought, like, dude, this is horrible, but so funny at times, just how she acts.
Yeah.
But I don't know why she won an Oscar or was nominated for an Oscar for this. But anyway. But her mom is very possessive in this movie and hates Nicolas Cage's character to death. So much so that she kind of takes out a hit on him. And at the same time also tries to have them followed and tries to catch up to them, and it's them kind of running away and meeting the weirdest characters, including Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
And kind of them explaining kind of their backstory, and then them kind of having that young kind of love, but being then very much stricken by reality, by all that shit they see out on the road and them trying to get away. And it's funny and just so exciting to watch, to be honest. I think it just got some great scenes in it, especially towards the end. And I think the relationship between Laura Dern's character and Nicolas Cage's are both great, in my opinion. And I think he's more of that 80s Cage maybe as well.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit crazier. But yeah, enjoyed it very much.
He gets his nose bashed in, doesn't he?
I mean, he gets hit quite a bit in this film, I think.
Yeah. I remember I actually rated this movie a 6 out of 10. I thought I disliked this a lot more than I did. But yeah, this is once again, I mean, it's 1990, but I still count this as early 80s or 80s Cage, that it's just not up my alley that much. And
yeah, sure.
I like David Lynch movies, but this one didn't really do it for me. I don't know. This felt like a bit boring.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I thought it was very exciting.
Fair.
And it's also got Harry Dean Stanton in it, which I was very pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah. Well, he's a Lynch guy, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
And yeah, also, it's got a great soundtrack, in my opinion, and it's got a whole lot of nudity. So if you're interested in that, I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 4.
Wow, that's high. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my 4 is a movie that you mentioned already. It's 8mm.
Wow, that's very high.
Millimeters. I thought it was 8mm.
Yeah.
Very important that we need to. I don't know.
8mm.
8mm. Well, he says 16mm film, right? It's not like 8mm. It's not like millimeters.
Fair enough.
Right.
8mm film. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I think it's 8mm. I'm surprised. This was your 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised this made your list. I thought you'd hate this movie.
I was surprised.
This is just the premise once again. Nick Cage playing a detective or investigator?
A private detective, yeah.
Who has to investigate whether or not a snuff film is real or not. And
yeah.
Snuff film is a pornographic movie in which the woman in it dies, right?
Yeah, any person dies, I guess.
Any person dies, yeah. And the parents of the girl in the video discover this video and want to find out if it was real.
No, it's not the parents of her.
Grandparents?
And it's an old lady whose husband has died, and in his possessions,
Oh,
she finds that video and wants to see if it's real. To
absolutely
know more about her husband.
Right,
He later finds
the mom. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's been a while. But yeah. I mean, just the premise though alone, right? I mean, then you got Joaquin Phoenix in there.
Yeah.
As a video store clerk.
Yeah.
And Kathleen Keener plays Cage's wife or girlfriend. I don't know if it's
wife.
Is it wife?
I think so, yeah.
And Peter Stormare.
When I first saw, I was like, is that him or is this like his brother? Because he kind of looks like him in the face, but he looks like a different person. Way smaller, because I think of Peter Stormare as like this big fucking guy, right?
Sure. Well, he's big in that movie.
He's just so thin, I think, which is why I didn't recognize him at first.
Fair. But
James Gandolfini as well.
Of course, yes. And I have to say, when I saw this also like maybe 2 years ago, or whatever, and this movie is written by Andrew Kevin Walker. Andrew Kevin Walker wrote Seven, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And I read things about it that's 8mm.
It's not that easy, right?
I don't know. The original script was even darker.
All right. Yeah.
And I somewhat wish that I could see the original version because they cut some things, but I think even this version is still surprisingly good.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he kind of disowned the movie because he was so disappointed by like rewrites.
Could be, yeah. I didn't know that, but okay. I wrote a Letterboxd review for this in February. See, I watched this February 2019, so just about 2 years ago, and I'm gonna read it to you now.
Let's go.
Even though I wish they had kept the original, even darker version of Andrew Kevin Walker's script for the film, this was still surprisingly good. Similar to James Wan's Death Sentence, this is a story that isn't reinventing the wheel, but rises above mediocrity through good performances. Even Keener impresses with the adequately described most thankless wife role and the limited screen time she was given, paired with a couple of genuinely emotional gut punchers of scenes. Quote, "Tell me you love her." You remember that scene?
Tell me you love her?
Yeah, at the end when Cage calls and he goes, "Tell me you love her. Tell me you love her."
Ah, yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Dude, that got me. Really did. If you're a Cage fan, you'll enjoy this. But that scene, I'm not sure if you're actually remembering it. It's fine if you don't. Yeah, you do?
No. It's like when he goes outside to the car and makes a phone call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he wants to get sort of
permission.
Not permission, but he needs someone to persuade him to do what he's about to do.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, that scene really got me. And also the scene when the guy with the GIMP mask, was it a GIMP mask?
At the machine.
When his face is revealed and he's like, what did you expect? Also a great scene. Also a great scene. Like, what did we expect? I don't know. It's just a regular guy, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
This one got to me. really did, and I enjoyed this. I'm surprised it's this high up on my list as well. But directed by Joel Schumacher, a director who is
the
widely
best
yes, but he's widely considered to be, and well, a lot of people don't like his work, and I am one of those people who really likes a lot of his movies. I haven't seen, actually, I haven't seen like his most acclaimed movies, like The Lost Boys or whatever, or The Phantom of the Opera. I haven't seen those, but there's some movies in there like Phone Booth. I love Phone Booth.
Right.
Yeah.
It's by Joel Schumacher.
Falling Down, the Michael Douglas one. A Time to Kill. I remember you not liking that movie.
No.
But just Flawless with Philip Seymour Hoffman, where he plays the transgender person. I'm not sure what a drag queen. That's it.
All right.
And Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro moves in next door or whatever. Great movie. A lot of people hate it, but whatever. 8mm. It's good. I like it. It's on Netflix, I think, still, right?
I think they put it back up, and
because they knew we were doing the special.
Yeah. I wrote them, It reminded me so much of Videodrome. Have you seen that one? By Cronenberg.
Oh, Cronenberg. Yeah, sorry. I haven't seen it, no.
Weird as fuck.
That also reminded you of 8mm, really?
It's a similar topic, I guess, with more sci-fi elements.
Yeah.
And yeah, this just is very dark feeling, and I guess also just the topic, but I was surprised by how much I liked also some of the action scenes.
Yeah.
It was because it was more of a darker feel to it, I guess, and I'm always glad to see James Gandolfini in anything. I'm a fan of his, and what I was also surprised by, at one point he kind of visits the ex-girlfriend of the girl he thinks was murdered, right? He finds him in prison, and that ex-boyfriend is played by Norman Reedus, which is very surprising.
Really?
A very, very young Norman Reedus.
Yeah, I forgot about that. All right. What's your 3?
There we go. It's your number 6, I think. Adaptation.
Okay. Oh, it's not your 1. Okay.
No.
What is going to be your 1? Okay.
Well, Adaptation. It's one of the weirdest movies on this list, and it's one of the weirdest movies, period. As in, it's just such a meta
it is a very
commentary. And it's a film by Charlie Kaufman, who we've talked about. He's done I'm Thinking of Ending Things, one of his latest projects, or I think one of his most known films, especially to like mainstream audiences, is The Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Eternal
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I'm sorry. Which is very different and very weird as well. He does those very weird and mind-bending movies. And in this film especially, because it's about Charlie Kaufman, played by Nicolas Cage, writing the screenplay you're seeing on screen. And him trying to adapt a book into a screenplay. And then it's about just him trying to write that movie and his inner monologue about it. And then also scenes of that book that he's trying to kind of adapt.
Right.
And his imaginary twin brother, who does more like these commercial action films, and he tries to be something else, to kind of be outside the box and trying to resist all those cliches. And I think there's this great scene where he's talking to Tilda Swinton's character, and like, I want to avoid this and that, like all these cliches and the car chase, whatever. And then just being so writer's block by these limitations that he's setting upon himself. And you also got, of course, Meryl Streep as the person who wrote the book he's trying to adapt.
Yeah.
A book based on a real story. She's a New York Times journalist, I think. And she writes about an orchid thief who really existed, and that book really exists. And it's the true story pretty much, with some weird elements in it, I guess, about, Charlie Kaufman's writer's block trying to adapt that movie into a movie script. And it just hurts your brain trying to think about it at times.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a genius idea. And Nicolas Cage playing Charlie Kaufman.
And Donald.
And his twin brother, Donald.
Both of them were nominated for an Oscar.
Really?
It's true.
Perfect.
This movie was nominated for Best Writing, and it was Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman, who doesn't exist.
Well, that's just kind of the genius of the whole thing. And I think it's one of his best acting roles as well.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think it's so worth checking out just for that.
Yeah, and it's got Chris Cooper in it, who won an Academy Award. He's the only guy who won for this, because Cage and Streep were also nominated, but
right, he plays the orchid thief. It was pretty good, yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, as you said, one of the most meta movies, and we describe Kaufman movies as weird, and that might be simplifying it, but it's just the most accurate term. They are just weird as fuck, and but enjoyable as fuck as well.
And the funny thing is, it is in that time frame that you said. I think it came out in 2002, which was like the height of.
I know, that was the movie I thought of.
Action weirdness.
Sort of right. That's the exception of the rule.
Yeah, I wonder how many times we said the word weird in this episode alone.
I don't think we've said it that many times.
Yeah,
have we?
I think so. Maybe.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, what did you like about it, or why is it your number 6?
Well, I didn't love this movie as much as a lot of people. I expected you to. I expected this for you to be your number 1 as well. I thought this was fine, but I wish we had stayed more with Kaufman and not gone with Streep and Chris Cooper. That's just me. I enjoyed those scenes of the movie a lot more than the actual book story.
But it's kind of also important for like the ending.
Right,
and
right.
At some point, like Kaufman, Nicolas Cage's character gets kind of involved in that story.
Yeah.
Kind of becomes part of it.
Right. But it's just that you got that love story between Cooper and Streep, and I wasn't really that interested in that. I wish we had more scenes with Cage as Kaufman, as both Kaufmans.
Yeah. And sorry, about that film, this is one of the films that I tried to rewatch, and I rented it from Amazon Prime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looked it up, information. It's got both the German and the English audio, and it's even got German and English subtitles, right? So I rented this fucking film, started it. What's going on? It's only got the German fucking audio, no subtitles at all. Like the whole info box for this film was completely fucking wrong. I have to write a very strongly worded email today because I want my fucking money back.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Just so you're aware, if you're gonna try to find this on Amazon Prime, you're like, all right, it's got the English audio. It doesn't. There seems to be some kind of mistake.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck happened.
It's meta. I don't know. I don't know. But we failed to mention that this movie is directed by Spike Jonze.
Right. Great director as well.
Fantastic director. Did Her and Being John Malkovich, which was also a Charlie Kaufman script. Terrific director and adaptation. I mean, that's also why one of the reasons why this is one of Cage's most acclaimed movies, because Streep is in it, Cooper's in it, Cage playing Charlie Kaufman, a movie written by Charlie Kaufman, directed by Spike Jonze. You know, it's a A-list cast and crew. And it's a good movie. Good movie. Yeah.
All right, so what's your number 3? I mean, there are not a whole lot of things left. I know 2 things I think that have to make an appearance. Or maybe I know even all 3.
I think you know all 3.
Yeah.
My 3 is The Rock.
All right, yeah.
That on your list?
It's not. I rewatched it. You borrowed me the Blu-ray. Thank you for that, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's just that kind of action that just makes me lose interest after
I think it's the best Michael Bay movie out there, period. Even though I haven't seen all of those movies. Which one's better?
I don't know. Not better, but the one I enjoyed more, for example, is Pain and Gain, because it's not.
That's one of the worst Michael Bay movies. What are you talking about?
Because it's not all explosions and actions. It's got some explosions and actions.
It's got some explosions and action. And it's got explosions, action, and muscle. That's Pain and Gain.
Yeah, there's a lot of muscle.
Oily, muscly bodies.
You know what I like.
I do know. But I mean, come on. This is same with Face Off. You think of Nick Cage, and I think you think of The Rock. You think of Stanley Goodspeed. I think he's a biologist.
Chemist.
I think. Who's sent to Alcatraz because Sean Connery's character, what's his name? John...
something with M. Marin?
John Marin? That does not sound right. No,
Let me look this up.
It's John Mason.
Mason.
You were close. Basically, it's Ed Harris takes over Alcatraz, right? Mm-hmm. Because he wants money for his military. Is it military? I think, right? He wants more money.
The dead soldiers who have died and have not been honored,
right,
in the Vietnam War.
And then they hire John Mason, because he's the only guy who ever got to escape Alcatraz, and they want to infiltrate Alcatraz because they want to obviously, get rid of Ed Harris. And Nick Cage is then also recruited because he knows about the weapons that they're using, and they're threatening the government or whatever to launch bombs into the San Francisco. Is it San Francisco? I assume the San Francisco area.
Yeah, San Francisco, right?
And then Nick Cage and Sean Connery work together, and it's just I think it's got elements. It's got the heist element to it of them infiltrating Alcatraz. It's got the action element to it. It's got some funny moments, and it's got once again one of the more cagier roles than you can ever find.
Yeah.
I think this movie starts off and he gets delivered like an old, was it comic book? No, Beatles thing.
Yeah,
yes,
Beatles
yes.
album.
Yeah, just and he's got a wife at home or a girlfriend who's pregnant, and obviously then Christ. But I just I thought about including some interviews on the list, but then once again they're not going to be higher up than movies. But there's some great interviews with Simon Helberg, the guy who played Howard on Big Bang Theory. He imitates Cage rather well, and one of his imitations is from The Rock, and he goes like, I'm gonna butcher this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There's this one scene where Sean Connery goes like, well,
it's very good,
right? Pretty good. That's it. No, he goes like, well, Alcatraz used to be a fort in the Civil War. Sound like some kind of witch? I don't know. And Cage goes like, well, that's interesting and stuff, but maybe we can stop at a gift shop when we go up. But right now, I really want to find some rockets. Too terrible. We might have to edit that out.
It's all right.
Great scene.
I mean,
and epic as well when he's at the end when he holds those flares in his hand. Come on now.
I think, like you just mentioned, it's got some funny scenes in them. And those were more of my highlight of this film, especially the ones delivered by Sean Connery. I think Sean Connery was my highlight of this movie, not Nicolas Cage.
That's fair.
Which, I wasn't a huge fan. And I think it takes quite some time to get going, in my opinion. It's like an hour in before they finally get to Alcatraz.
Yeah, it does.
But, yeah.
You're right.
But
I just had to put it on there.
Yeah. I have some fun facts, actually. I read this. I don't know if this is actually true, but famously, back in the day, there were some reports of Saddam Hussein being in possession of weapons of mass destruction, right? So to kind of legitimize a war, like everybody remembers back in the good old days. And those, as we now know, were false claims. And apparently the person who called in those false claims
was Nicolas Cage?
No, but based his description of the rockets on the rockets that he saw in the movie The Rock.
Sure.
Kind of fun fact. And like you just mentioned, because of because of interviews, not making lists here as well, I thought about for a while. Because of Wild at Heart, there's a great interview of Nicolas Cage doing an impersonation of David Lynch and his directing style, which is also very funny and worth checking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Right.
I know your top two, and I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I think I know one, but I'm pretty sure of the other one, and that's a big surprise. But what's your two?
I'm surprised as well. Yeah, my number two. I had a big trouble deciding between my 10 and 9 and between my 2 and 1.
Okay.
And then I thought to myself, all right, what am I basing this on? I thought the 1 is the one that I maybe enjoyed a bit more. And that's the one that I would rewatch more, which is my number 2 spot. And my number 1 spot, which was like, but the other one is like the best Nicolas Cage thing, right? And I was like, well, that's like the topic, right? It's what is the best thing that I've seen from Nicolas Cage. So I had to put that at 1. And the one that I maybe enjoyed a bit more and would rewatch more is Matchstick Man. Once again, a movie that you borrowed me and I saw a couple of days ago, like 2 days ago. 1 day ago?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday, yeah. It could be. And I had one heck of a time. And I know this is on your list. I don't know if it's your 2 or 1.
It's my 2.
All right, perfect.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea what this film was about. I heard about it. I know you talked about it. some time ago. And it's by Ridley Scott, a great director. We've talked about him a bit, I think, from time to time.
Yeah.
Mentioned him. And I think everybody knows Ridley Scott. He was one of the legendary directors who's done some of the most iconic movies ever.
Well, still is.
He still is. He's still a great director. And this is one of his, I guess, newer movies.
Well, that's a bit...
I mean...
2003?
Yeah, right. But I mean, like some of his most iconic films, like Alien and Blade Runner, like 70s, 80s. Anyway, Matchstick Man, I had no idea what this film was about, but as I now found out, it's about con man and Nicolas Cage in the leading role with Sam Rockwell as his assistant as a con man. And I honestly enjoyed this so freaking much. The whole atmosphere and how the movie kind of played out. It's just such an enjoyable movie, and I'm definitely going to rewatch this at some point. And it's just so much fun to watch. I wasn't sure at first because Nicolas Cage plays this very neurotic kind of guy with very strong OCD or whatever. And also always has to check like his door and everything has to be perfect and neat and clean. And I thought it was a bit too over the top at the beginning, but it grew on me, and I think it fit the character so well, and I think he was well cast.
Yeah.
And I just had so much fun with it. I mean, I know it's one of your favorite movies of his, and I mean, it is your number 2, so yeah. What do you think of it? I mean, what do you think of the story?
Well, my 1 is sort of solidified, right? I didn't have to think about it, but I think if I was combining what's the best and my favorite Nick Cage movie, this would be number 1. My number 1 is just my favorite.
Yeah. Fair.
But I mean, yeah, I love everything about this movie. I love Sam Rockwell. I think you know that. I love Cage, and I think Alison Lohman is great. She's 22 in that movie, by the way.
Yeah. She's
supposed to be 14. Nearly. Yeah, no, but she's supposed to be 14 in the movie, and she's 22 in that.
Yeah.
And after I rewatched this too, and I saw some on the Blu-ray. I saw and I looked at the special features, and I saw there was making of, and I was like, okay, I'll have a look at for like 5 minutes. But I'm always like, usually these like making ofs are like 2 or 3 minutes long, and if you're lucky, you get like 10 minutes or whatever. But I clicked on it, and it said this documentary is done by I should have hold on. I'm not going to be able to name his name anyway, but it's like Charles. Hold on. I need to get his name right because it makes sense for the story.
Here. Should I look it up?
No, I don't think it's on there. The Beast Within, making of Alien. Here we go. Charles Charles D. Lauzirica. Completely wrong. Charles D.E. Lauzirica. Charles de Lauzirica. That sounds about right. Yeah. So anyway, I saw that he did the making of the Matchstick Man, and as soon as I saw his name, I knew I would watch the whole thing because he has accompanied Ridley Scott on, I think, most of his films and did incredible making of documentaries on all of them. Speaking of that, one of them is the Beast Within, which is a making of Alien. It's 3 hours long, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen. It's on the Alien Blu-ray, and he did the same thing for Prometheus, and I'm sure for many other Ridley Scott films. But then after I saw Matchstick Men, I watched like an hour and 10 documentary about Matchstick Men again as well. And it just, Cage wasn't supposed to be on board. He only joined when Ridley Scott was there. And the movie, it's sort of what I think is fantastic. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but actually I won't get into it all because it's going to be a bit of a spoiler. But it's hard, and now I started talking about it. But the way that the writers wrote the movie sort of changed throughout the making of the film, and that's only going to make sense to you if you watch the documentary. But check that out as well if you're interested in it. It just took me by complete surprise, and the story itself as well. I had no idea where it was going, and loved where it ended up.
Yeah, I mean, to give you maybe a bit of an overview, because I think I didn't do a good job of like telling you what the story is about. Matchstick Man is, two con men and Nicolas Cage, who is this very neurotic guy, finally going to a therapist and then kind of trying to reconnect with his daughter, who he hasn't seen in ever, actually, because his wife left him while she was pregnant. And then trying to reconnect with her and maybe her kind of slowly realizing what his actual work is and him trying to balance that. And
right. And she sort of loves the fact that he's a con man. And
yeah.
She wants him to teach some things, to teach her some things. Yeah.
Yeah, and really challenges him because she's a messy teenager and he needs everything to be clean and nobody can wear shoes on the carpet, etc. Yeah, and it's just fun. And funny that you mentioned the making of. I actually watched the first part of it, the pre-production. I think it's so cool that it's kind of categorized the documentary in pre-production, filming, and post-production. I thought it was so interesting, and I only watched pre-production, and I thought it's just so cool to watch, especially like Ridley Scott, who's a huge director, work and how he kind of functions, and seeing him like at the beginning of the documentary, just him sitting down with the casting director, them deciding on who they want, and just seeing that process is so interesting, especially if you love movies and want to know how that's made. And
right, so then that's why I'm recommending all of that guy's documentaries.
Yeah,
they're just incredible.
It's interesting because I like a month ago or two I bought a special edition of Alien.
Yeah,
to finally have it on Blu-ray, and I loved just the cover of it. I'm interested if it also contains the documentary.
Pretty sure.
Well, I'm excited. All right.
Yeah, I love that movie. But I know you're one. Let's go.
Yeah, my number one, like I said, 2 and 1. The difference for me was Matchstick Man goes on easier, I guess. And I think it's easier to rewatch. But Leaving Las Vegas, which is my number 1, I think you're number 7?
9.
9?
It's the one I skipped.
Right. Leaving Las Vegas, my number 1, I think it's Nicolas Cage's most acclaimed role, the one he won his Oscar for. And I really loved his role in this. And it is the best thing that I've seen of his. It's not an easy film to watch. Nicolas Cage plays a very heavy alcoholic who gets fired finally after screwing up time and time again, and then kind of moving to Las Vegas, giving everything up that he had in California, and moving to Las Vegas to drink himself to death. And when he arrives there, he meets a woman.
Literally, by the way.
Yeah, literally. His plan is to kill himself by drinking. And just his shopping cart is just funny, to be honest. You just see him go through the supermarket, filling it up, and then you see his hotel room, which is just better stocked than a bar would be.
Sure.
A real life bar. And when he arrives there, he meets a woman who is played by Elizabeth Shue, and she plays a prostitute in Las Vegas. And he kind of falls for her, I guess, and wants her to come over and finally persuades her, and then it's their relationship. She also falling for him because he's not the typical guy she usually meets.
Well, just pays her, sex. Right, to do everything but having sex.
Yeah, he's just come to my hotel room, and then she starts blowing him, and he doesn't seem very interested at first, and he's like, what's going on? Like,
yeah, very bluntly put, but yeah.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. And he's like, well, screw that, just lie here with me, you can go when the clock is up pretty much. And then she ends up staying the night, and that also kind of putting her in trouble because she needs to work for her employer. But her being so mesmerized by him and then asking him to move in with her. And he's like, all right, I'll do this on the one condition. Never, ever, ever ask me to stop drinking. And like, I don't really care what you do. I mean, I'm not indifferent to it, but it's your business. I trust you. You do what you want, referring to her job. And that's like their agreement that they have, and that's how they live. And him being this absolute alcoholic, and if you kind of pay attention to it, which I did, and I was so proud that I noticed that, is that he never really eats anything. He just drinks and drinks and drinks and drinks. And whenever he doesn't, he's like an absolute wreck. He's more normal when he drinks, like a real alcoholic would be. And I think that performance and that
it's one of his best performances for sure.
Yeah, the relationship the two of them have is just heartbreaking. There's some very tough scenes, especially towards the end. And
absolutely. Have you seen this before?
I haven't. I always meant to, and I want to watch this. I don't know if you remember. It was on Netflix for a time, and I watched this, and I thought, like, dude, this is weird. Something is weird about this. And I noticed that the audio was completely out of sync. Like 2-3 seconds.
When was this? Like years ago?
Yeah, like 2-3 years ago must have been.
I don't remember. Okay.
And Yeah, I was like, is this on purpose? Is this like an artistic element at the beginning?
Is this a David Lynch movie? All of a sudden?
Yeah. It was like so put off, but because it's really seconds. If it's like half a second out of sync, it's very annoying and weird. But if it's multiple seconds out of sync, it's unwatchable. And yeah, very disappointing, sadly. And then they took it off probably because of those technical difficulties and never re-released it on Netflix, to my knowledge. And yeah, so I finally got to watch it now that you've borrowed the Blu-ray to me, and I'm so glad that I finally did. It's a great fucking movie, and yeah,
a lot of the things that you borrowed ended up on your list, right?
Matchstick Man as well.
Yeah. What were the other ones? The Rock didn't. Then it was
National Treasure, Rock, and maybe a fifth one. Yeah,
there must have been. What was it? That's Matchstick Man, Nick Cage. Watch the movie, you get that reference.
Yeah.
What was it? It was 5 movies. It was National Treasure, it was The Rock, it was Matchstick Men, it was Leaving Las Vegas, and it was
My Diary. I watched
My Diary.
Lord of War.
That's not on your list.
That's not on your list.
It's not on my list.
I'm way more surprised by that.
No, I'm surprised. I thought this would be a top 5 for sure.
Yesterday, I kind of wrote this list, and it was supposed to be my number 10, but then it could happen to you. You just knocked it off the list.
Yeah. Well, Leaving Las Vegas, I think it's one of his best performances. I just don't enjoy them. I never will go back. I don't think I'll ever go back to that movie. That's why it's only a number 9. But it's a great performance, a great movie, and I'm so happy that Cage got his Oscar, And Elizabeth Shue is fantastic as well.
She is so fucking great in this. I think she also deserved an Oscar for this.
Yeah, she's really, really good. And it's a tragic story that is well worth checking out for sure.
Yeah. And, sorry, one last thing. Mike Figgis, who's the director, also did the movie. The
he also
soundtrack.
Did the movie, yeah.
He also did the soundtrack for the movie, which is also a great soundtrack.
Well, I think we mentioned just about every director except like a couple. That's why I didn't want to mention Figgis now, but we'll do it anyway. And let's talk about the best thing I've seen, which is a movie directed by John Turteltaub. I mean,
I'm interested in which one it is going to be.
Both.
All right.
No, I'm just going to pick the first one. National Treasure for me. And this was... it's an absolute no-brainer for me because this is without question one of my favorite movies ever made, and it's without question not one of the best movies ever made. I'm fully aware of that. But I think this is sort of the first Cage movie that I experienced. I really think so. Maybe the first where I realized that who it was,
Yeah, now that you said it, might have been my first one as well, I guess. It is the most age-appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw the first one in theaters. That was 2004. I definitely saw the second one in theaters, and the second one, the Book of Secrets.
Right.
This would be my number 2.
Right.
It would be. But
interesting.
Yeah, I love both of those movies. And I'm going to say the most controversial thing ever. This is my Indiana Jones. It just is.
Oh, all right.
It's the modern Indiana Jones.
Dare you?
Well, no. Just walks off, turns everything off.
Fuck this.
No, but it's got this lighthearted adventure to it, which I fell in love with at an early age, and I could just keep coming back to it. I rewatched the first one like maybe a year ago, and I could go on and on and on about this movie. Did you hate this movie?
It fought for my number 10 spot between Lord of War and National Treasure.
You mean
I enjoyed it way more than I thought, and you borrowed me this Blu-ray as well, as we just said, and then I noticed you didn't even have to because it's on Disney fucking Plus. Let me tell you about Disney Plus.
I genuinely thought it would be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I forgot about it, and then I had the chance to watch the second one yesterday because I finally realized, dude, it's a Disney movie. Why didn't I check on Disney Plus?
Right.
And I have to say, I prefer the first one.
So had you seen the first one before?
I have seen the first one a couple of times, especially when I was younger. I have never seen the second one.
Right. I think the second one is also... I mean, it's definitely not as good as the first one.
I think it's a bit slower, and I just love Sean Bean as the villain. I think the villains in general are like my favorite part of both of these films. I think Ed Harris and Sean Bean both great for that kind of film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could go on. I don't know how much in depth I want to go about National Treasure, but I think a lot of people have seen that movie. And
but if they didn't, I mean, give us a quick rundown of what it is actually about.
Well, Nick Cage, thanks for asking, Gabe. He plays Ben Gates, and he
what's his full name?
Benjamin Gates.
Benjamin
Franklin Gates.
It's such a great name.
Is that his name? Okay.
It is actually, yeah.
But basically, oh my god, well, he's a treasure hunter, and he works together with. I mean, you kind of gave away that Sean Bean is the villain, which is absolutely fine. But they start off working together.
Like the first 5 minutes.
First scene, yeah, and they find they're like in a winter location, and they find a buried ship. And in there, they find like a pipe that leads him to the next clue. And they're all like disappointed that it doesn't lead them to the treasure that they're longing and they're seeking. But it just leads to the next clue. And I think it's the Charlotte.
Yeah.
Right? And then Ian sort of turns on Cage and sort of steals that from him. And right, is that maybe the order I'm mixing up a little bit. Maybe that doesn't happen right there. But he definitely turns on them. And then it's sort of a hunt for the treasure. And Cage has his partner, Riley Poole, played by, oh God, he's the guy in The Hangover who goes missing, Doug. What's his name?
He's like this classic early 2000s sidekick character.
Oh gosh, I knew, Justin Bartha.
All right.
Yes.
No idea.
Riley Poole, and you got Diane Kruger in there. Diana Kruger.
I think she's pretty good.
Abigail Chase, yes.
I enjoy her.
Really good. They work together and also with Cage's dad, played by John Voight, who's the real life father of Angelina Jolie.
I don't like him at all.
Yeah, he's very active on the right these days.
Very active, yeah. Some very controversial statements.
Yes, but I enjoy him in that movie. You know, he teaches them to use a blow dryer, and then because they steal the Declaration of Independence, by the way, which is definitely going to be in the intro. The intro of this episode will feature. You would have listened to this by now, but I'm telling Gabe now. It will feature "Let's Get Fucked," 100%. Then I will steal the Declaration of Independence. I don't know where I will have to figure out a way to put that in there.
We also need to "Let's Rock."
The Gone in 60 Seconds one? Yeah. Well, it doesn't make any sense if you don't see it. You know, it's got that his gestures
where
with
does
it.
"Get Fucked" come from, except from History of Swear Words?
I think it's just from that. It's great because I'm going to use the trailer clip where he goes, "I'm Nicolas Cage, and let's get fucked," which is not even in the show. Because in the show he says it, and then there's a different thing in between, and then he goes, "Let's get fucked." Great little thing. I don't know why we're talking about this, but I mean, National Treasure. It's just eminently rewatchable for me, and I love it. And obviously, the treasure hunter. They figure out the Templars. I think it's a hidden treasure of the Templars, and you got Harvey Keitel as Sadusky, as the police guy who chases him down, and
Christopher Plummer in the very opening.
Is his grandfather? Is it great-grandfather?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it had to be my number one. The second one, I agree. The second one isn't as good, but I still find them so rewatchable. And there's supposed to be a third one. The first movie on my watch list on IMDb has been for years, ever since I ever created an account on IMDb. It's been National Treasure 3 because it's been rumored for so long. Apparently, there's some new developments nowadays, but I will only believe it when I see it.
Yeah, interesting.
Love it.
Right.
What do you got for honorables?
All right, I want to start off with things that I absolutely wanted to watch but didn't get to. And I'm surprised that none of them made your list.
Yeah.
One of them is Rumblefish, which I didn't suspect to be on your list. Did you end up seeing that?
I have not seen this because
right.
It hurts me to say. You've hit me in the face 3 times now. I haven't seen 3 movies, but Rumblefish is more of a Matt Dillon movie. And it's also 80s, right?
Yeah, but the thing is why I absolutely want to watch this movie and also Cotton Club. Those are 2 movies both directed by Francis Ford Coppola, the legendary director and uncle of Nicolas Cage.
Right.
Those 2, Bringing Out the Dead, also
Scorsese.
which was also only available in German. I thought it was in English on Amazon Prime, and then 2 later I realized it was only in German.
Yeah, that just makes you realize how many great filmmakers Cage has worked with.
Yeah, more than I thought.
And Bringing Out the Dead is a great movie.
Yeah,
it just didn't make my list.
The concept sounded so interesting. And what else I was missing was Birdie.
Interesting. Deep cuts.
Yeah, and I think those are the movies that I most want to watch. Maybe Mandy.
I was going to say Mandy. That's my number 11.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it in theater.
Interesting. Yeah, those I think the big ones that I missed. But yeah, my honorables, I got Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse, I guess.
Of course.
But his role was just too small for that.
Dude, if it was a whole movie of him, it's my number 2.
Yeah, fair enough. I know how much you loved it.
No. I didn't even love. I'm just saying. I had the same thought process as you. I just didn't put it on because that's his highest rated movie ever. Because the movie is that good, but his part is just not big enough.
Yeah, but yeah, I also got National Treasure, Lord of War. I thought Snowden I also kind of liked, but once again, his role was so very small.
Yeah.
This was never gonna make my list. And yeah, I think those are my big. And Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is a great movie, but it's got Nicolas Cage in there for like 2 scenes.
It's similar to Grindhouse. Tarantino and Rodriguez. He plays in a trailer.
Yeah. I think I really want to rewatch this, but because I watched this like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the film is like 3 hours long.
It is. Well, it's 2 films, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 films, yeah. So yeah, those are my honorables. What about you?
Have you seen City of Angels?
I don't think so.
The Meg Ryan one where Nick Cage plays an angel?
No, I didn't.
Dude,
I did.
My number 12 or whatever. It's such a Cage movie that it's so good. Yeah, it's so badly good. It's honestly, it's unreal. It plays Seth, the angel who takes away, whenever he's there, he's like taking away someone. But then once he realizes that Meg Ryan she's like a surgeon, she looks straight at him and he's not supposed to be supposed to be seen. No one can see him, but she just looks straight at him and he falls in love. And then it's his sort of task of becoming like a real human because he obviously wants to interact with her. Oh man. It's so cheesy and so ridiculous, but somehow enjoyable. And the ending took me by complete surprise. I mean, it's got some balls, that ending. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan of Meg Ryan, but no.
Well, there you go.
Didn't see that one.
I got Lord of War on there. Mandy for sure.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Joe?
I have not seen Joe. This is the last movie that I wanted to watch, and then I didn't find time.
All right.
Yep. I mean, it's... and then The Frozen Ground with John Cusack.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad movie. John Cusack plays a serial killer with Vanessa Hudgens and Nick Cage, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my honorables in terms of like those that came closest to being on my list. Bringing Out the Dead, of course, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Get in the Cage, the SNL skit with Andy Samberg, where he plays Nick Cage, and on one episode he actually has the real Nick Cage next to him. Fantastic. But I mean, I could list movies that I have seen of Nick Cage now, but they're nowhere near going to make my list. I mean,
an endless list.
Snake Eyes is another mention. The Brian De Palma movie.
I thought Con Air might make
of course, we haven't mentioned Con Air. I forgot to write that down. That's also on the honorables. Yeah.
All right.
Of course. I mean, there's so many Nick Cage movies. I'm sure we forgot some other movies as well.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Like Drive Angry. My gosh, what a shit show.
I think, did we see this at some point? I saw it on TV. Did we see this when we were
with Art
in Poland?
No.
Or is it something else?
I think Art borrowed me the Blu-ray.
All right.
I don't think I've seen it with you. But also, sorry, one last one. The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
I didn't like that movie at all.
You watched that movie?
Yeah.
Have you seen the original?
Not for this special even. I watched it like a year ago. I haven't seen the original, no.
It's, it's just, it's a mad Nick Cage performance once again. Then I recently saw, I'm just going to keep going, and I'll be quick, please. Seeking Justice. Another one of those, it's 2011, but I count as like 2010 to like early mid-90s movies. Mm-hmm. He plays this guy, and January Jones, his wife, gets sexually assaulted.
Okay, well.
And then he finds revenge. Listen to this. Guy Pearce then goes to him in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't know Nick Cage, and the characters don't know each other, and he's like, I know what happened to your wife. I can kill the guy who did it to her, right? But you have to, you owe me when I do this for you. It's kind of like Fargo, if you remember the show. Yeah.
I just want to say that, yeah.
Or also in the movie. But is it also in the movie? I just remember the show.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
The movie is just a kidnapping, right?
I don't remember, but definitely in the show with Billy Bob Thornton. So it's also, the scene is very similar where he approaches him. But he goes like, all right, do it. And then he has to do things for Guy Pearce, and
It's kind of like Strangers on a Train, right?
Strangers on a Train, the Hitchcock movie.
Hitchcock, yeah, the Hitchcock movie. I love that movie.
I did not like that movie.
All right,
the best thing was in Hitchcock. That's interesting. No, but Seeking Justice, throwaway movie, but also kind of enjoyable. January Jones plays his wife. I think I said that, and another weird ass movie. Go on.
Sorry, I also want to mention Kiss of Death. I absolutely hated that movie, but that's one of the most Cagiest roles ever.
Oh, dude, yeah, and Vampire's Kiss. Or is that the one you mean?
That was
no
as well. Vampire's Kiss was also on my watch list just because it's so freaking over the top, and I just know the scene where he cries, for example.
Sure.
No, but Kiss of Death he plays this kind of drug lord, I think, in Miami, and the guy from CSI Miami, Horatio something.
David Caruso.
Yeah, David Caruso plays the undercover detective trying to arrest him, and that's one of the most. That's the Cage's performance that I've seen. I think maybe apart from Face Off, but it's very much in that vein of style of performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
No, I could go on and on. I'm just now. We got a couple of movies to look forward to as well in 2021. There's one movie called Willy's Wonderland. It's supposed to probably pretty shit.
Yeah.
But one movie that is coming out, which is incredible. Listen to this.
Which is?
A cash-strapped Nicolas Cage, literally he plays himself, agrees to make a paid appearance at a billionaire superfan's birthday party, but is really an informant for the CIA since the billionaire fan is a drug kingpin and gets cast in a Tarantino movie. That is a real movie premise.
What?
That is coming
Tarantino star in this as well?
No. I don't think so. Maybe. But that's in post-production. That's already filmed. So I cannot wait for that.
This could be amazing or absolutely terrible.
Yeah. And he's going to play the Tiger King, Joe Exotic.
Is that already confirmed?
I think so, yeah. But the last thing I want to say, and this is the one to go out on, watch the movie called Left Behind. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think it's his lowest rated movie ever.
It's like a 3.4 or something.
3.1. I watched this once when I was sick, and I found it on YouTube. It's unbelievable. It's really, I wouldn't, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It really isn't.
It's absolutely
Have you seen
terrible.
Yeah. You watched this?
Yeah,
my God.
You recommended this to me.
Well, I recommend is a strong word.
Well, you like said, watch this movie, right? It's on YouTube. And while I was watching this, I was trying to figure out if you were trolling me.
It's his worst rated movie, of course. I mean,
I don't know, maybe it's a hidden gem. It's actually quite good.
No.
Yeah, Jesus.
This great pilot. He's a pilot, and while he's in the plane, there's a fucking what is it?
The rapture.
The rapture happens. So people keep just dying around him.
Very
religious, biblical.
Yeah, very.
Yeah,
it seems more like a propaganda movie.
I mean, you could do a list of like his cash grab movies in the last 10 years. Would be
there are too many.
There are too many.
Ghost Rider 1, Ghost Rider 2, is there a third
two.
one?
No, there's two.
Okay.
Anyway, let's wrap this up. I mean, hopefully, I'm surprised as to how much you actually seem to enjoy a lot of these movies. I didn't think you were.
I was surprised as well.
Right. I mean, listen, this has been 1 year. 52 episodes. It felt like a good thing to do it on Nick Cage now, and I'm very happy. And obviously, we got to do it on one of your favorites now that I hate. I don't know if we have that.
Natalie Portman.
I don't hate her. We could do that.
Yeah, okay. Is there anyone that I like that you hate?
I'm sure we'll find someone. Yeah, I mean, the next special is already set. I'm looking forward to that. And I think we can tease this. We're finally going to do one on a director. Yeah. And that should be fun.
Still a couple of things that I don't know where to get.
Yeah, well, we got a bit of time.
Smaller ones, yeah.
But yes, Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for listening to the past 51 episodes. Thank you for your support of last year, and we hope you enjoy this. Fiona, we hope you enjoyed this episode in particular. And thanks for the suggestion. And yeah, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed, and have a good week, and we'll be back with a regular episode next week, which will be a good one. There's so many good things coming out this week, and we can talk about the Golden Globe nominations and a couple of really exciting releases. So I'm looking forward to that.
There's so many things. On Netflix alone, there's so many things coming out.
Good things next week.
Yeah. Alrighty. The usual pitch. Thank you so much for listening to us. Maybe consider dropping a like, subscribe, anything. You can find us on any podcast platforms. Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts under the Best Thing We've Seen podcast. You can find us at Twitter. On Twitter at Best Thing Radio. You can also find us under that handle on Instagram, and you can find us also on YouTube under Best Thing We've Seen podcast, where you can check out the thumbnails that Flo designs every week, which is going to be a Nicolas Cage themed one, of course, which has to be great. And thank you so much for listening. And yeah, like you just said, people do send us requests for people we should do these episodes on. Thank you so much for those requests, and thank you so much for listening. It's been a wild year, and it's crazy that people are still listening to this. Thank you so much.
Right. Let's get fucked.
Let's get fucked. Bye.
Bye-bye.